Try to picture the frontier without a wooden counter to set your hat on. The street is nothing but dust, horses tied to the post, swinging doors flapping as someone walks in looking for a drink. That image defines the Old West. Saloons spread across the frontier and became part of daily life. Not just places to get a drink, but landmarks of arrival, rest, and conversation after long roads. Like this kind of story? Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Now let's see how these pit stops gained importance. In Taos and Santa Fe, New Mexico, Mexican-style cantinas were already around. With them, the rhythm of settlements changed. Trail crossroads turned into towns, towns into cities. Around the counter, travelers traded news, negotiated freight, looked for a roof and work. The makeshift bar became post office, bulletin board, and game room. Cards and dice measured the luck of those on the move. This network gave life to places that otherwise would have been just stops. By offering shelter, quick food, and company, saloons stitched together the social fabric of the frontier and drove urban growth. More than just dual backdrops, they were the social infrastructure of the westward push. It's through those doors that we'll step in to uncover their origin and role. Around 1822, a wooden door swung open in Brown's Hole, at the crossroads of Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. It was Brown's Saloon, the first officially recognized saloon, and it quickly became a gathering spot for fur trappers at the height of the trade. The idea caught on. Across remote areas, similar places popped up, offering shelter to those venturing into little map territory. After exhausting journeys, you could find a chair to rest, a counter to trade goods, and an audience for travel stories. By the late 1820s, soldiers from Fort Bent in Colorado were already regulars in these spots. As cowboy trails grew busier, saloons multiplied along the routes and set down roots in towns like Dodge City, Kansas. Miners stopped there too, catching their breath before facing deep canyons in search of metals. In 1848, when word of gold spread in Santa Barbara, California, a modest cantina expanded into more than 30 saloons. The drinks were just part of it. What really flowed was information, tips on new discoveries and warnings of danger. Toast after toast, stories took shape and pointed the way for the next move. These places built bonds, settled disputes, and sealed deals that shaped the westward expansion. The saloon boom didn't stop in California. By 1883, Livingston, Montana, had about 3,200 residents and already counted 33 saloons. They did more than pour drinks. They were crossroads where travelers and locals closed deals and traded news from afar. That's how the saloon became a trademark of the Old West, moving forward with new towns and with anyone crossing the territory in search of opportunity. Now picture pushing through the doors of one. The creek sends a clear message. Hesitation has no place at the bar. Most folks order rye or straight bourbon and down it in one shot. Anyone who tries mixing drinks or lingers too long on the last sip becomes the butt of jokes, unless they're known as someone you don't mess with. A nervous newcomer ran a bigger risk. Sometimes the barrel of a revolver made sure not a single drop stayed at the bottom. And what if, instead of whiskey, you asked for a beer? The bar painted a different scene. Forget ice-cold bottles. It came almost at cellar temperature, between 55 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit, with just a thin head of foam. At the first sip, flavor mattered more than chill, and the talk carried on. Cards slapping on the table, boots scraping the floor. While outside, the town kept growing, fueled by stories born right there between a quick toast and the next bit of news coming through the door. For a long time, the rule was to down your beer in one go, before the fizz went flat. That started to change in the 1880s, when artificial refrigeration and pasteurization, pushed forward by Adolphus Busch, opened the door to nationwide distribution. Brands like Budweiser gained reach and prestige. Up until then, nobody imagined drinking it cold. European tradition called for a mug at room temperature. Now close your eyes and step into a saloon in a mining town of the Old West. The swinging door creaks, the floor answers to boots, and the loudest sound is cards and chips sliding across the wood. Prospectors, lawmen, cowboys, railroad workers, soldiers, and outlaws crowd around the poker table, each one betting their own fate. In the gambling saloons, poker ruled. Then came Bragg, three-card Monte, and the dice. High-low, chuck-a-luck, grand hazard. The games ran hot in Deadwood, Leadville, and Tombstone, towns that pulled in those chasing fortune through shiny metal or pure luck. Many walked out with stories, not gold. While beer was learning how to travel the country, getting colder each time, the cards stayed hot, a reminder that not every bet ends with pockets full. When luck turned the corner, the air got heavy and any sudden move could bring iron out of the holster. Doc Holliday and Wild Bill Hickok knew that code. On the frontier, skill with cards mattered just as much as a steady hand on the trigger. An unwritten pact formed among those sitting at the table. To walk away in one piece, you needed quick reflexes, a sharp eye, and if bad luck stuck too hard, a simple rule guided impulses. Shoot first and ask later. Now picture crossing the main street of a small town and coming face to face with a place whose doors never rested. Many saloons ran non-stop, day and night, welcoming miners, cowhands, and wanderers. Some offered gaming tables. Others filled travelers' bellies or opened bowling alleys to take their minds off the road. There were also famous billiard rooms, lively dance halls, and bars that kept glasses full without checking the clock. The names carried the same boldness. First Chance in Miles City, Bull's Head in Abilene, Holy Moses in Creed. And while the movies immortalized those swinging doors, reality was less cinematic. They were far less common than popular memory likes to believe. On the big screen, there's an instant thrill when the hero pushes through the swinging doors, and chaos erupts on the other side. Villains thrown onto the sidewalk, bottles flying, dust hanging in the air. Off-screen, though, those saloons were more than set pieces. They were gathering spots. Plenty of folks leaned on the bar for hours, long enough to grow a callus on the elbow. A small detail that shows just how intense the place could be. Life there never slowed down. Stories overlapped, rumors spread fast, and the legend of the West was born in hurried footsteps. Drinking alone was almost rare. Conversations sparked laughter, laughter sparked partnerships, and business flowed to the rhythm of clinking glasses. Behind all that buzz was a rule about who could step through the door. Native peoples were turned away. Black men only found tolerance when skill at the card table earned them space, or when a reputation for danger preceded their name. For Chinese immigrants, just showing up could come at a high price, sometimes their very lives. Even men in uniform weren't exempt. Memories of deserters haunted the crowd, and the presence of authority stirred suspicion. Amid the clinking of glasses and the haze of dust, legends were raised, and walls, too. The Old West was written in those saloons. Spectacle inside, exclusion at the door, stories told only by those who managed to cross it. On the wind-beaten door, the saloon looked simple, but more than thirst was dealt with inside. Between the smoke and a banjo strumming improvised tunes, meetings turned into deals, toasts turned into insults, and every word could change a destiny. Respect and suspicion flowed from table to table, measured with each sip. Soon the whispers grew louder. Rumors spread that soldiers brought diseases to the women of the parlor houses, while the so-called respectable ones were kept far away. The ones crossing the door were the saloon girls, tolerated out of convenience but marked by a tarnished reputation. That picture started to shift after World War I, with the men returning and towns reorganizing. The rules began to be questioned. Many of those excluded found strength in the temperance movement and organized crusades to shut down bars from coast to coast. Even so, in the Old West, a saloon often came before the general store, the barbershop, or the church. It stood in as a town square, a bulletin board, and a refuge, a place to announce dances, auctions, and assemblies. In some places, the building went beyond social life. It became an improvised courthouse, like with Roy Bean, who handed out rulings with one hand on the bar and the other on whatever law fit the moment. So the saloon was more than rows of glasses. It was a stage for alliances, breakups, and decisions that shaped frontiers and memories. In Hay City, Kansas, the story of the West finds an unlikely stage: the saloon. At the Tommy Drum Saloon, the first church services were held, a sign that these places adapted to whatever the community needed. They weren't just about drinks and poker. They also became meeting rooms and shelters. Passing through were Ben Daniels, Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, Ben Thompson, Doc Holliday, and others. Sometimes as owners, sometimes as employees, sometimes as regulars. Saloons were natural crossroads. Anyone arriving in town stopped by to catch the news, close a deal, or just kill time. Where money, booze, and pride mixed, arguments flared in the blink of an eye. In 1876, Bob Younger noticed that everyone was used to rough manners. No surprise that fights and killings were part of daily life. The most remembered case is Wild Bill Hickok, shot dead by Jack McCall during a poker game at Saloon No. 10 in Deadwood, South Dakota. Later, on August 19, 1895, John Wesley Hardin was gunned down from behind inside a saloon in El Paso, Texas. Between full glasses and marked cards, the line between fun and danger was razor thin. A bet could turn into a fight into a duel, and a duel into mourning. Still, these places kept the town turning. Weddings were announced there, and when needed, a makeshift pulpit was raised. In the saloons, community and conflict shared the same bar, and the story of the West was written in that balance. In the middle of the frontier commotion, the saloon girls changed the mood. They sang, danced, struck up conversations, and sometimes risked a bit of flirting. Most of the time, it was all part of the show, keeping the place lively, holding the customer's attention, and pushing another round. That's how it was in many saloons, but not in all of them. In more selective areas, like the north stretch of Front Street in Dodge City, strict rules applied. No guns allowed, no dancers from outside, and clear limits on gambling. The result was different. Fewer shouts, more music, billiard balls rolling, and drinks served without hurry. Some wanted risk, others preferred control, easy conversation, and a night that ended the same way it began. Now let's step back to 1849, when the gold rush was driving crowds of people to California. Settlements popped up out of nowhere, and with them, dance halls that quickly became the go-to spots for anyone looking for company after mining. Dancing there wasn't an innocent pastime. Admission cost between 80 cents and $1, and the box office was split between the dancers and the owners. Between one step and the next, deals were made, stories spread, and decisions were set on where the next coins would be spent. In this mix of clashing interests, the West tuned its logic: sell entertainment, enforce a little order, and turn every night into income, both for those on stage and for those keeping the doors open. In the saloons, the party didn't end when the band went quiet. The crowd shifted to the bar, and the game kept going. The dancers earned a commission for every drink they pushed, and the audience, buzzing with chatter, kept the wheel turning that mixed fun with business. It was a ritual, almost an unspoken contract of the Old West. Footsteps, laughter, clinking glasses, and whispered deals. What's curious is that this logic carried through time. Today, in many bars and music venues, partnerships are still sealed between toasts, or the weight of the day is lifted in conversation. With every glass raised, a piece of that tradition echoes, built on unexpected encounters and sudden opportunities. In other words, the scene changed clothes, but the logic of exchange stayed the same. If you enjoyed this journey, support the content, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And drop a comment about what mysteries of the past you'd like to see uncovered. Thanks for the company, and see you next time.